Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, bright day, good day, whenever you're catching this. I am realizing that there's a lot of light around me right now. So I hope you are receiving some light. Yes, yes, happy Friday. All right, beautiful people. You are here with Stars of the Morning Light. Courtney, I am your host. There's a ton of light around me. Let me It's not like I don't want the light around me. It's just I don't know how that's going to come off on your screen. I hope I'm not glaring at you. Good morning. Good morning. Happy day. Happy sunrise. Happy breath. I am live 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Chaos and Order. Um, Today's going to be an interesting show. And I do believe I might have to break it up because I'm fixing to kind of come with a lot of stuff. So it might be too much for everybody to take in at one time. And so I might break it up. I'm not sure yet. I see that Seeker of Truth is in the chat. Good to see you, my dear. I see that Lori's in the chat. Good to see you, my dear. Um, Today, actually, I'm going to start with, y'all might have missed this. So last Friday, I started this whole chaos and order thing. And I was trying to explain to people that when we remove ourselves from the 3D construct and even 5D, um, we can see that order and chaos is just a flow. It's just a flow of energy back and forth, moving throughout everything. It's not, um, we're not, it doesn't have to be rigid as we think it is here. And we don't have to spend our time seeking order, which is going to be a whole lot of what today we talk about, seeking order because it's already very present. But then I had my Wednesday show of Edgar Casey Life Skills, and y'all might have missed this. Lucky, beloved Lucky Stone 888, which y'all tonight we're live over at his channel. The link to the show is in the description. I think that's the only thing I put in the description is to come have fun with us tonight for our Halloween episode. Both Lucky and I telling spooky stories, scary stories, personal stories. He texted me this morning, was like, I think I have at least five. And I was like, five? Oh, whoa. But so we might go a little over an hour. It's going to be a whole live, fun, good time. Get yourself there, get yourself in the chat. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna have a lot of fun, folks. I can just imagine. I don't know lucky stories like that. So I'm gonna be hearing them for the first time as well and sharing ones with Lucky and y'all. So tonight, folks, live at Lucky Stone 888. All right. So Lucky, beloved Lucky, actually inspired today's conversation. I had such kind of a racing week that by Wednesday I went, chaos and order. What are you breaking down, Courtney? Like, what are we doing? Well, then I woke up yesterday morning and the Edgar Casey video that I did on Wednesday, Lucky had written a comment. I didn't get it until yesterday morning, and I will read all this to you because I'm sure you did not go back and read the comments. My response, I kept going back and back and back responding, editing. This poor guy, he's like, "Man, I shouldn't even have said anything." I'm gonna read all that to you because what he presented, how I responded, actually is apropos for chaos and order. So, the Edgar Casey Life Skill Studies on Wednesday was about karma. And Edgar, as I will even quote him today, would say things like humans put a lot of stress on karma, same as humans put a lot of stress on chaos, right? But we put less stress on letting go and allowing the energy to be what it is. As in, we seek and seek and seek order to the chaos because we're thinking and paying attention to the chaos, opposed to seeing that order is very much present. Same as we judge ourselves in this concept of karma, and we put a lot of stress. And I, this message is very sincere, folks. I spend the majority of my time when I am with other humans physically, hearing them repeat the exact same thing. It's very odd. They all say the exact same thing of, I hope I get this life right so I don't have to come back. I hope I clean up all my karma. Sometimes I rebuttal, sometimes I don't, because it's sometimes not worth it when all people, I cannot stress to you, I have heard that since I was a child, and now I'm an adult, looking at everyone going, we put so much stress on that karma and we're missing the point when it's going to sort itself out regardless. Why? Because order is there. Balance is present. Balance is already present. Order is already present. But yet, because we don't feel it, we don't seem to experience it, we spend time looking at the negative and all the chaos and all the, I have a ton of mistakes. I did this, I did that. We spend so much time focused on that, on how to beat and win the game, right? This lovely game board of Earth. We try to beat the game, learn our lessons, all that sort of stuff. You all understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, as in, this is now become common kind of jargon amongst a lot of the quote unquote new age awakened souls. I'm not trying to say this in any disrespect. It is a matter of, there's a difference between being an evolving consciousness opposed to, I better pay all my debts. I better do this right. There's a big difference there. And so I'm presenting a concept that all that people strive for is already present, already here. It's already yours. It's already happening. It's already flowing. Everything's flowing, right? I went through a big course this past summer. I mean, massive, folks. I might talk about it. It might be more during the Edgar Casey Life Skill Studies because we're talking about reincarnation. Um, but throughout, and it wasn't even really a course, it was a vast, I mean, it was an experience with my teachers, Master Later Lady Kira. If anybody knows, you can go visit them at the official Shri and Kira um, YouTube channel. Within that, though, I mean, it was a massive transformation, massive. And she just kept saying throughout all of it, we are learning to float in water opposed to walk on land. I was learning to float in water like the waters of creation, the invisible spirit, as we might talk a bit about today, float in water opposed to walking on land. Very simple words, very big concept of, when most of us think of, when we hear things like that, we think, oh, okay, I just need to become more flexible. I just need to relax into things. I just need to, you know, be more open to what's happening and receiving and letting go. Very, very much so floating in water, the waters of creation, opposed to walking on land, also is to be able to see all the infinite potentialities opposed to focusing on what is happening within the chaos. Now, I am not saying that people don't need to see the chaos. We do see the chaos. What I'm trying to say is that we don't see the order. Most of us do not see the order. We just focus on the chaos when the two are simultaneous. The two are like brother and sister, right? I mean, they're there. They're both present. And here's a perfect example. Last weekend I ran a all weekend long. I was asking for donations to help hurricane victims out of Hurricane Helene. We collected, folks. We collected $800, which I'm proud of everybody. Good job, folks. Lovely job. Great job. I have been able to get so many good, valuable items and supplies that this coming week, I will be next week, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, this coming week, I will be dropping off to those that can get them to into the mountain, right? Um, but when that all happened, we saw nothing but the chaos. We saw the destruction, we saw the chaos, we saw all of it. On the flip side of that coin, we also then got to see how humans were snapping into place. The order was there. The order was there in that amount of chaos. There was a ton of order, right? We just focus on the devastation. I know people, lovely, like homeschool co-ops that are putting together school materials and book bags and whatnot for the kids who still aren't in school, but at least they can have the materials in a book bag and work on things and keep them, together, right? Beautiful, lovely, gracious, love it. There's been so much order and people coming together and solving this huge chaotic problem. But man, we just pay attention to the chaos when order was exactly right there. It was right there with it, right there with it, right there. So it's always present. I'm going to go to the discussion first. Um, that it wasn't even discussion. This poor guy, Lucky. We love Lucky Stone 888. Um, this is from this is from the Edgar Casey Life Skills that was on Wednesday. You can go back and watch it. And it did bring up karma because we're in Edgar Casey on reincarnation. All of this will tie in. Like I said, this might be very long, or I might have to divide it up into 2 Fridays. I don't know, folks. So this is Lucky had commented because he listened to it in the night when he was doing other stuff. So I guess at some point I said, when you are not learning, you are ignorant, right? Because I was trying to say in that video that many people reference karma as in it's teaching you something. It's not teaching you anything. And that's what I was this total rant of karma is not teaching you anything, right? And it was karma, or is it an opportunity to do differently? Right? There's a big difference there. You're not learning anything. That was my whole rant on Wednesday, especially a rant folks. So, Wednesday, my schedule changed 4 times on me that day. So I was definitely in a rant. So he said this: when you are not learning, you are ignorant. This statement has given me a pause. Would you be happier with we are practicing? So he's asking me, instead of saying like learning, are we practicing then? Which, right on, Lucky. Yeah, we can use the word practicing, right? Often learning is not ignorance, but to put what we know into action. We can know information, and when you put it into action, you make mistakes. The mistakes the mistake was not from our ignorance, but from our perspectives influencing the information. Once we make the mistake, we can learn to use the information in a more effective manner with less influence from our ego. I'm right on with this with Lucky, except I don't think there's such a thing as mistakes. And that's why with karma teaching us some kind of lessons, or there's lessons to learn, then there is also some form of mistake, right? And uh, associated with that, right? Past, present, what have you. I don't believe there is any mistakes, because what we're going to get to finally towards the end of this is it is. It is. Chaos and order is. It is. Be. Right? So therefore there aren't any mistakes. That is a form of judgment. Either thinking that something out there outside of yourself, energetically wise, has created some kind of form of judgment, and it's going to come back on you in the law of cause and effect, or judgment of yourself that plays out then in the law of cause and effect, when it is doesn't even necessarily have to contribute to cause and effect. It could be all brand new, right? It could be all brand new. Every moment, every day, every situation, every breath. You could step outside of the concept of cause and effect. You really could. Now, do our actions affect others? Yes. Do our thoughts affect what we do? Yes. At any given time, you can flip the script. You can do whatever you want. So this was my reply, folks. Poor Lucky. Oh, I don't even know if he read it. He's probably, hopefully, he's sleeping right now, preparing for tonight. And he's like, I didn't even read that, Courtney. You're nuts. you got, I am happy that Lucky and I record now on Fridays, because people, I think, do see uh, how we interact. Let's say that. So this was my response. I agree with the word practicing is more accurate to this discussion than learning. I was referring to two main points: that humans already know right from wrong based on the energy of their collective past life, that inner knowing that you have, and that we give our power over to this concept called karma. Now, I do want to point out, I did write right or wrong. I'm going to go into how that doesn't exist either, but it's easier to explain to people. So, what I'm trying to say is, I was trying to make two main points in that video: that because of all of your collective past life knowledge that is within you, just because it's in your subconscious doesn't mean that's not in you, then you actually do know better. Now, do you necessarily choose it? No, I don't know. What I will say, let me just read my response. Karma is not of the now, nor that it is. And then I said, read through to understand that there is no right or wrong either. Learning is obtaining the information through practicing, like your ABCs. Practicing helps to gain awareness through experience. Awareness itself is beyond learning, past life knowing energy, and all that is. Awareness itself, right? All the awareness, the totality awareness is beyond learning, is beyond you got to keep learning all these lessons, right? This is why instead of talking about lessons, instead of talking about all this judgment, I spend so much time here talking about remember. Remember who you are. Remember. Because in that remembrance, you will be able to acknowledge that you are a part of the entire totalities, the full conscious awareness, that your past lives, the beginning of your whole creation, already knows. Past life knowing energy, which you have within you, and the all that is. Practice is practice is its own word. Learning is its own word. Awareness is its own word. Those three words do not share the same definition, but we tend to use them interchangeably. Do they work together? Yes, but they are all words of the power of choice. So in the video, Edgar Casey's um, life skills study, I was really trying to emphasize the power of choice. I will always emphasize the human free will power of choice. All is choice. We are practicing choice. We are not learning choice. Many will say they didn't know they had a choice in life, which means they gained the awareness through the power of unacknowledged choice, experience which led them to understand, quote unquote, learn, they do have a choice. When we accept our power, we can also accept our power of choice. Regardless of the reasons as to why we choose what we choose, as in programming, trauma, etc., it's still choice. So, when I definitely in that video, in that rant, I think the difficulty is I was being very black and white. I was not referring in any way to the how and the why people do what they do. I was trying to emphasize it is all choice. When we look at our life, we tend to say, well, I'm learning. Raise your hand if you ever said that. I did because I was raised with all this stuff all the time. Well, I'm learning. Must have been my karma. Must have been I have to learn a lesson. That relationship was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I must have had to learn something there. Yet if we actually continue to look further, it's not learning. We are experiencing the choices that lead to other choices. Choices made out of what we think at the time, but the reasons as to why doesn't change the fact it was still a choice made. Now, of course, I put in this, this is talking about mature adults. Of course, this is in regard to those who have freedom of choice in a situation, not those in danger. Down further, I talk about mature adults. As far as mistakes, I do not believe there is such a thing. It is. It is until we choose something different. Therefore, no such thing as mistakes. Karma holds power over us in this idea that we are sorting out our past mistakes, hurts, failures, etc. When if we acknowledge that each moment, breath, is a new now, and we have the power to choose our actions, words, thoughts, etc. in each moment, karma would cease to play a grand role in our lives. This is why Edgar Casey said the entity puts a stress upon karma. We give our power over to karmic cause and effect without realizing we are the cause and effect of creation within each breath. As mature adults and old souls, we have the inner knowing of right and wrong, regardless of what we choose. The complexity of human experience is that we often choose what works against us. Once again, I'm going to quote Edgar Casey. Karmic influence in this case is a rebellious influence against destiny, and we call it learning instead of choice. Please note, in this episode, I am not discussing the how and why. It is the difficulties of human case by case struggles, and also why Edgar would say knowing our past lives wouldn't change the course of our decisions in this life. I believe people confuse the how and why for the power of choice. The how and why does need learning, awareness, practicing differently, education, spiritual influence, etc. The how and why is not the point being made. The point being made is we can change by the power of choice at any given moment, and that our choice does not have to attach itself to karma. And then I thank Lucky because he's awesome. And then I said, here's an example of free will choice versus learning. And this is why I say adult, mature humans, and I think the key word is actually mature because a lot of adults are not emotionally mature, right? This is an example of a very simple example as to what I was talking about. A person in emotional distress goes to the mall and spends $300 on items to fulfill their emotional needs. Are they learning that spending 300 will affect their bank account? No. They're not learning that. They know it will. Are they practicing slash demonstrating their human free will in the power of choice? Yes, they're choosing to spend that 300 bucks. Now, the how emotional distress they have to spend the 300 bucks. They're not learning how this is going to affect their bank account. They know it will. And this is the majority, right? We're not talking about those that can just throw 300 bucks out the window. The majority. If they continue to choose this behavior, will they be forced to change in the universal law of cause and effect? Yes. Eventually, you run out of money if you keep spending 300 bucks, especially on their case by case bank account, right? To change, do they have to make different choices? Yes. Seek mental health resources, friendship, spiritual fulfillment, whatever it is, or they choose not to change the behavior and continue to live in the cycle of choice. Mistakes, as Lucky had mentioned. So, choice also can play into the mistakes. I'm not talking the how and why. The how and why is the complexity of human life. And people get very caught up on the whys and the hows, and they forget that it is actually all choice. It's not karma. Because karma is this concept of you're going to get yours. That energy that you put out, you're going to get back. Not necessarily. We float in the waters of creation opposed to walk on land. Not necessarily. And karma's not teaching you anything, and that was that example that I'm trying to say. That person that's spending $300, they know that's going to affect their bank account. They're not learning that. And then the cause and effect, karma, is that their bank account is affected. This is about conscious awareness and making the choices within it or lack thereof. This example is to demonstrate that choice is the base of life outcomes, not learning right from wrong. Right or wrong is an individual value system, not a system of karmic or cosmic judgment. There is no judgment. and I once again went into this is for mature adults. When a soul enters, and I'm quoting Casey here, when a soul enters a new body, the door is opened, leading to an opportunity for building the soul's destiny. Everything which has been previously built, both good and bad, no right or wrong, right, is contained in that opportunity. There's always a way of redemption, but there is no way to dodge responsibilities which the soul has itself undertaken. So, what Casey means by that, there's always a way of redemption, is because chaos and order flow with each other. So, if you do something chaotic because you made some choice based out of emotions or whatever the how and why is, I don't care what the how and why is. Because we all have personal case by case basis for the hows and whys, right? Why we do things, why we feel this way, why we think this way, why we just barked at somebody, right? Whatever the how and why is, that's not the point. There's always, as Casey said, there's always a way of redemption. So technically, folks, karma, good karma, bad karma, whatever karma, is already present. You don't even have to stress it. You don't have to think about it. You just be, you just be because it's gonna work itself out anyways. Because it's a part of the system of the 3D and 5D. Once you get past 5, the cause and effect and karma and judgment, all that stuff, and duality, all of that, right, wrong, all of that stuff, it doesn't even exist. It's not even a part of any of the system, which is also attached to this, attached to 3 and 5, attached to the world you live in now. So when that stuff does not, if it doesn't exist in seventh dimensional consciousness and higher, well, then it doesn't have to necessarily exist here. It doesn't have to, but it's up to the humans to elevate their consciousness and remember that they are a part of the totality. Remember consciousness itself. Remember who they are as a beautiful star and then live accordingly. But there is no way to dodge responsibilities which the soul has itself undertaken. That is what I mean by live accordingly. When you remember who you are, not all the lives you lived in this 3D jazz. I mean, those are all complicated, just as complicated as this one, right? Remember who you are, that you are an ultimate being, that you are of the divine, that you are leaders of creation, that you are a beautiful source of light and love. Remember who you are, that we don't give our power over to this concept of karma, karmic judgment. We don't have to give our power over to any of that because that would be dodging the responsibilities as to why we came in the first place. The soul's purpose, the soul's meaning for being, for being. Life has nothing to do with good or bad. It has to do with us dodging our responsibilities of accepting that we create our destiny. So there is no good or bad. I made mistakes. I did this, I did that. Oh, the confusion. Oh, the difficulty. Oh, the human mortal toil. Do we feel it? Do we experience it? Does it feel like it never ends? Sure, that's a choice. Everything is a choice. If you really stopped and thought about not the how and why, not the how and why, not the how did I make this decision? Why did I make this decision? Why did I do this action? Why did I say those words? Leave the why out of it for just a split second. You can see with your own comprehension of your life that it wasn't you were learning something. You learning could be a byproduct of it, but you were choosing, choosing. Here's an example for me as well. So when I was a young, you know, rebellious child, right, as most of us were, that do your homework, Courtney. I choose not to. That's a choice. Did I have the consequences of that? Yeah, over and over again. I still chose not to do it. When I was doing heroin for a brief point of time in my life, and it was right when fentanyl was hitting the scene. Every time that I went to do some, I would go, "Oh man, this is probably going to kill me." I still did it. It was still a choice. Now, the reasons why? Oh, there's tons of reasons why I made that choice. Still a choice though, that then I lived in actions. I either did my homework or didn't do my homework. I either did that dope or didn't do that dope. You see what I'm saying? It's still choice. So the before we get even deeper into probably more about chaos and what makes us feel like we don't have a choice, why Carl Jung would say that humans don't have actually free will because it's based out of the perceived influences that are present, and that's how they make their choices. So they're trying to say, and I love Carl Jung, I really do. I love him, except this one point. We do have free will. We do have free will. And usually people refer to as learning, karma, what have you, from past life and present, good and bad, still a form of judgment, because then we receive the consequences of our actions and behaviors and whatnot, right? Because we live in a 3D system of cause and effect. Duality. You do this, this is the result. There are ways, consciously, and then even tangibly, to not live inside of that very rigid form of existence. And we tend to say we're learning because we tend to then have to suffer some kind of consequence or even a gain. We might learn, oh man, I made that right move because I just got this new job, or I made that right move and I'm in a great relationship. Whatever we say we're learning, I'm trying to remove learning off the game board, off the game board because it's a form of judgment. Because we're learning to quote unquote, we're learning to how to beat the game of life, the game of the earth, the game of the earth school. It's still a form of judgment. As to it, are you learning or are you not learning? Oh, you did learn because of that consequence, or you learned because you succeeded. Still a form of judgment that if it doesn't exist in the higher conscious realms, then it doesn't have to exist here. We can change all of this. That's the point that I'm trying to get to. And I see that Jackie J is in the chat. Good to see you, my dear. What a very interesting. And I titled this Chaos and Order because the two are simultaneous with each other. The two are always present. We don't have to seek order, it's already there. We definitely don't have to focus on the chaos. we can see it. But I also put karma or opportunity. So I know there's some in the chat that have heard this many times over. I received it from my teacher. Oh my goodness. I probably heard it in like 2016 from Shri, who passed away in January. Shri Ramka, um, great, brilliant man, master. I probably heard him starting to say it in like 2016. Didn't really probably start practicing it until about 2017. Because, you got to hear something over and over and over again before it really seeps in and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I should be practicing that. I should maybe I can change my viewpoint." And what he would say is that everything in life, everything from the chaos, the order, everything in life from relationships of all kinds, everything in life, every situation, every circumstance, every conversation, everything in life is an opportunity to practice compassion. So when Lucky put the word practice there instead of learning, I said, right on. I'd rather use the word practice opposed to learning stuff that you already know, you just have to remember. So, to help you remember who you are, you beautiful star, to help you remember who you are when we practice compassion over judgment in every opportunity, because this is the land of opportunity and infinite potentiality. I love this place. If everything you start seeing, and it's not like you're gonna do this perfect. I still don't do it perfect, but it does change. If everything you do and see and communicate and experience, you can see it through the eyes, the lens of a heart-centered, this is an opportunity to practice compassion, which automatically will get you practicing to lay down the judgment, compassion for self and others, compassion for self and others. That, if we can actually start practicing that, that will lead to helping you remember who you are and why you came here in the first place. It's so, it kind of breaks my heart, for lack of better words. It kind of breaks my heart when I hear and see and I'm witnessing a bunch of beautiful souls, beautiful, gifted, ancient, beautiful stars. I mean, just beings of light who came for a reason here. And because of the 3D density, they then are trying to beat the game board and say things like, well, I hope I fix all my karma. I hope I get it right this time so I don't have to come back. Because that shows to me that 3D has beat them down so much that they're forgetting that they chose to come and that they're needed and that this place is worth it. And so it is heartbreaking that that amount of judgment they have internally on themselves, which is extremely heartbreaking to me. When people say, I hope I get it right. When did you ever get it wrong? I don't know. I don't know. They never got it wrong. They never did. There's no right or wrong. It is, right? It's just heartbreaking. And what's even worse is when I sometimes inform them, well, you chose to come and just logic. You chose to come, apparently through the laws of karma, quote unquote, you set it up and choose your life to come again to learn lessons and fix your karma. You chose again, even though apparently you escape this place. You go to wherever the heavens go or the purgatory or wherever you go. You sort out how to come back, even though you have all the knowledge and awareness of the lessons that need to be learned. It doesn't make any logical sense. What does make sense is what we're going to get into today. So bear with me. I told you it was going to maybe be a long one, folks. Yes, Miss Shelley just said, no sinners here, no right or wrong, just beings. Exactly. We did pull a card today, number 31, magic. See, y'all are magic. Oh my gosh. The frequency of magic supports our intrinsic ability to grow and expand beyond this moment, to move toward possibilities and expressions that are as grand and profound as we can imagine. All that is required is our belief in their manifestations. See, look at that, folks. Magic. I'm going to hold this card up. My poor camera. Look at that. Magic. Each one of you is magic. And then understand that. I'm going to read this again as I'm holding it up. Frequency of magic supports our intrinsic ability to grow and expand beyond this moment, to move toward possibilities and expressions that are as grand and profound as we can imagine. All that is required is our belief in their manifestation. So if there's magic in the world, magic, and all it requires is our belief in the manifestation, well, then why can't we just go, okay, I'm magic. I believe I'm going to manifest a whole new life that doesn't have any form of judgment of karma on me. Cool. Because I'm magic. I can do that. I can just be. I could just be magic. I could be the law of instantaneous manifestation, as my teachers would say. So I might jump around some material here. The books that I have today, see, y'all, I got books with me. I told you this is going to be one. I'm probably just going to read a couple of quotes out of here. This is The Mystic Master Speak. Okay, this is just a collection, question and answers, right? The Mystic Master Speak. Um, this is the Gnostic Book of Hours, Keys to Inner Wisdom. You know, I was going to probably go Gnostic, for those who have been here. This, y'all, if I can recommend a book, at least as of right now, somebody, when the students got together last Friday night here, um, they said, Courtney, do you have like a book list of books you recommend? And I just went, oh, geez. You know, it's usually a case by case basis. And I get that question a lot. Do you recommend anything for me to read? This, if you're curious about Gnostic thoughts and beliefs, this is an easy book to do. Very simple. I mean, very bigger print, easy. I use it as a meditation book. Very simple. The Gnostic Book of Hours. And I might even read a little bit. This is a fiction book, but it's very good. These two people studied the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi texts big time, and then wrote a fictional book, The Way of the Essenes, as in before Christ, meeting Christ, and like walking with Christ. Now, what I do want to say is there's a lot of people out there, take what you hear, have it resonate with you or not resonate with you. You have to come to your own resolve with things by studying and learning yourself. There are a lot of people, and I will say this, um, just study your own, please. That I hear often say, well, I don't pay attention to the Nag Hammadi or the Gnostics because it's born out of Abrahamic um, belief structures. And I have to say, for now, dear listeners, beloveds, that is actually incorrect. The Nag Hammadi scriptures, the a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it is based out of the scene that were actually very much against, contradictory, trying to illuminate and expose what the Old Testament and even a lot of the New Testament was saying and doing. They have nothing to do as in being for, in favor of the Abrahamic Old Testament God. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I know there's a lot of people that, for some reason, um, I think just because of what other people say and the words that they say, because to read that material takes a lot. So they just kind of dismiss it when it's full of a million diamonds, gems, everything. Um, they will try to say that it's born out of the Abrahamic thought forms and beliefs. That is absolutely incorrect. 100 times over, they are contradicting the Old Testament. So, with that being said, let's learn where chaos came from, right? Let's learn what chaos came from. Is that where I want to start? Yeah, that's where I want to start. Chaos. Chaos as a 3D, 3 and 5. Oh, my glasses just got. So I did want to put that out there. Please research yourself. And like I said, this book here, the Gnostic Book of Hours, June Singer, is an easy, good, quick read to understand what the scene were about. Okay. So this is just a brief reading as to how thought brought forth ignorance. And if anybody can remember that whole spiel of me reading all that stuff that I sent back to Lucky in that comment, and you can go back and read it, it's in the Edgar Casey from this last Wednesday. Um, it started with, I had supposedly said, if we're not learning, then we're ignorant, right? And that's when he was like, well, would you rather say practicing? And I would rather say practicing. We're practicing in remembering who we are. How thought brought forth ignorance. The Sophia convinced a thought from herself and the conception of the invisible spirit and foreknowledge. She wanted to bring forth a likeness out of herself without the consent of the spirit, her consort. So, in the scene beliefs, the Nag Hammadi scriptures, there's a whole lot of moving parts before, like during creation, before creation. So Sophia wanted to create a likeness of herself. And she goes on over to the invisible spirit and foreknowledge. And there's actually, which is her counterpart. I'm gonna read it all. Let me read and then I'll break it down. How about that? So I'll start over again. The Sophia convinced thought from herself and the conception of the invisible spirit and foreknowledge. She wanted to bring forth a likeness out of herself without the consent of the spirit, her counterpart. Because of the invisible power which is in her, her thought did not remain idle. Although the person of her maleness had not approved, yet she brought forth. So think of the grand feminine energy and the grand masculine energy. And when they're talking about the masculine here, they are trying to refer to source energy, who then had a feminine. So the source holds both feminine and masculine. And then they created Sophia, who is a whole lot of feminine, and that is our wisdom, that is our creation, that is the feminine attributes. Amongst other things like forethought and knowledge and invisible spirit. The invisible spirit is the waters of creation, very much like the Akashic, the waters of creation, because they talk a lot about how then Source would have looked at the waters of creation and kind of plucked things out or made things happen or what have you. So the male counterpart to Sophia, spirit, great source, um, did not agree to her making a likeness. When she cast her eyes upon the consequence of her desire, it took on a form of a lion face serpent, with eyes like lightning fires which flashed. Seeing that it did not resemble her likeness, she cast it away, for she had created it in ignorance. She surrendered it to the luminous cloud. She placed a throne for it in the middle of the cloud, that that none of the immortals might see it save the Holy Spirit, who is called Mother of the Living. And she called its name, bet you everybody just said it, Yaldabaoth. So in the Old Testament, oh geez, actually let me keep going. So Yaldabaoth is chaos. Is chaos. It's the one who decide chaos here. It really is. Came from Sophia's unchecked desires. That's why desire, you beautiful people, on the levels of consciousness chart is very low. It's right around fear and anger. And it's because this desire usually comes out of us feeling a lack of something. So, like Sophia's male counterpart, beautiful spirit, great spirit energy, she was like, "Hey, I want to make a likeness of me too. I want to make a likeness of me." And he said, "No, not right now." Like he didn't probably say like, "No, never." He just said, "No, not right now," because you don't know all of what's going on, right? You don't know all of it. Out of ignorance and desire, she created a being that was a serpent with a lion's head and fiery eyes that she then had to hide away in a cloud. She gave him a throne to sit on, but she tried to hide him away. So the invisible spirit, and all the other beings, so forethought, and there are probably angels at this point, all sorts of these beings don't see him. It didn't work out for her, by the way. It didn't work out for her. That's why she was entrapped forever and ever. Because she made this guy. Because she made this guy. This is the anguish of ignorance. The anguish of ignorance. When the totality asked, "From whom have we come forth?" Ignorance of the Father brought about anguish and terror. The anguish grew solid like a fog. Oh, wait, hold on, folks. I might want to read something right before this, and I apologize. Nope, we're good. We're good. Sorry. I don't know if I need to go more into. So, I don't know if I should go further into Yaldabeth. Yaldabeth is, uh, to paraphrase, that is who caused chaos here. That is the devil energy. That is the Satan energy, and I'm not gonna say Lucifer because that's a whole different story that people have very wrong. Um, the chaos, the negative, that is here in 3D, who then created his own little troops of angels and all sorts of bad things. And mm, do know actually, yeah, I'm gonna read this. Seeker said, "Yes, go into it." Yes, go into it. Because I'm ready to go into something else, but then I realize, they might need some backstory. So let me read this. A thief of the light. A thief of the light. Yaldabaoth stole power from his mother, for he was ignorant, thinking that there existed no other except his mother alone. So she put him on this cloud or on this throne in a cloud to try to hide her mistake. It was a choice. It was a choice she made, even though Grand Source said, no, please don't do that. And her desire of wanting her own likeness without actually getting the permission from the grand creator of all things, she created this horrible being that she tried to hide away. So then he thought that the only other being out there was his mother, Sophia. So he was like stealing her power. He became strong and created numerous realms for himself with the flame of luminous fire which still exists. 7 kings he placed over 7 heavens, the 5 and 5 over the abyss. He shared his fire with them, but not the power of light, which he had received from his mother. For he, the first archon, is ignorant darkness. Each of the other archons created 7 powers for themselves, and each of the powers created angels for themselves. When the arrogant one, I want to pause there. So, this is also why a lot of my patrons, please join us, patreon.com, for the classes that I do there twice a month. I am continuously always telling them, ask what being you're talking to. Because I even in college understood this and wrote a great folktale story where the ending of it is the angel turns to the farmer and says, "You never asked me where I came from." Not all angels. are good. And that's not a story of Lucifer. That is a story of this kings, angels, all from the original Archon, who is also referred to as the arrogant one. So, here are the words that are about to come out of my mouth, folks, because I'm reading. When the arrogant one saw the creation which surrounds him and the multitude of angels which had come forth from him, he exalted himself above these and said to them, I am a jealous God, and there is no God beside me. I am sure we've heard this before now, haven't we? I am a jealous God, and there is no God beside me. By announcing this, he demonstrated to the angels who attended him that there exists another God. For if there were no other, of whom would he be jealous? So even his angels, this is a bastard child that was created out of desire. That's why desire is dangerous. Who is the bad mama jamma of all of this stuff, all the chaos that we have to live through, who created a bunch of angels, who created all this drama. And he says, which is also the first commandment, he says, I'm a jealous God. There is no other God beside me. And then even his angels went, huh? Well, if there is no other God, wait, there's got to be other gods because why would you even talk about being jealous if there's not something else out there? That is the first commandment, by the way, in the Old Testament. So that is why I'm trying to say people say a lot of things about the Nag Hammadi scriptures without even reading them. How about the anguish? The anguish. The anguish of ignorance. When the totality, the totality, what encompasses everything. So when I say full conscious awareness, the it is, the full conscious awareness, the it is, that is totalities, totalities, right? When the totality asked, from whom have we come forth? Ignorance of the Father brought forth anguish and terror. The anguish grew solid like a fog. No one was able to see the totality was inside him. The Father, the incomprehensible one who is superior to every thought. For this reason, error became powerful, working on its own matter foolishly, not knowing the truth. It set about a creation, preparing it with power and beauty as a substitute to the truth. As for the incomprehensible Father who made the totality is within him and the totality needs him. Although he did not give perfection to the totality, but retained it within himself. The Father was not jealous. Indeed, what jealousy could there be between himself and his members? When you actually read the Nag Hammadi scriptures, this information here, and this is from the Gospel of Truth in the Nag Hammadi scriptures. This aspect here goes into the fog and the ignorance, the error that is what prevents us from remembering who we are. It is part of the system of chaos, but also the balance. It is part of the 3D density. This is why we call 3D dense, by the way, folks. Not just because it's like low frequency. I mean, it is low frequency. Most of 3D um, life is very low frequency. So therefore, that's why everybody talks about get your vibes up, because the higher we can get our physical, emotional, mental, spiritual vibes up, the more we can kind of break through the dense vibrations of 3D. But it's also because we're all walking around in a fog. This is just all fog. So even as we know in our physical life, when we're driving through a fog, walking through a fog, you kind of go a bit slower. You can't really see what's ahead of you. You're kind of might be a little bit difficult to interact and exchange. No. And all of that came from really Sophia's desire to create some bastard son who then decided, I'm going to take over because he thought he was the only one. That's some ignorance now, ain't it? But the fathers, will say, but it means nothing. It means nothing because I am all of the totalities. All the totalities are within me. So please make note of that as well. We understand our life in the context of here on Earth, 3D density. And it is very hard for people to expand out of that, even imagine outside. We can kind of get into galactic a little bit. But yet, if I throw out there which galactic, which 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 galactic system are we talking about, right? It's so big and expansive that our minds struggle with even comprehending it. The- Once again, because your mind is full of fog. Your mind is full of fog. Before I read more out of that, I want to go to the masters for a moment. So, pose a question. Karma is a form of judgment regardless. It could be good, it could be bad. It could be that energy flows back to you in a positive way because you done did something right, or negative way because you did something wrong. Still a form of judgment, right? And I'm trying to say that that does not exist in higher consciousness levels. I then also just informed everybody you're walking around in a fog. You're walking around in a fog, right? And that fog creates the ignorance as to why we think we need a karma to teach us something in the first place. I hope everybody caught that. We're walking around in a fog, an ignorance, a lack of memory of who we are, a fog, an error, an ignorance as to why in our human consciousness we come up with this concept of some form of karmic judgment to teach us lessons and or to receive good things, because it's very dense here, very dense. Very, very dense. Very, very dense. Did y'all know that Plato said, and I'm sure you've all heard this a million times, and I'm not the biggest fan of Plato, but I do like this line: ignorance is the root of misfortune. Ignorance is the root of misfortune. Ignorance, the non remembering who we are because we live in this fog of 3D, this very difficult density that keeps us ignorant to the totalities, is what causes us our misfortune, which we just also learned was some bastard son with a lion's head, serpent body, and fiery eyes. Yeah, forget about that guy. There's totalities. He ain't nothing. And I do want to say this quote because this is a great quote. The question would be, but can we rise above this self contradiction to our natural and peaceful state? Our self, it's so sad often when it's a matter of I know people are they really do want peace, love, joy, harmony. They really truly do want that. But then our lives contradict it. This is what Emerson said, and I am a big fan of Emerson. We live in succession, in division, in parts, in particles. Meantime, within man is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. I'm going to read that question again. But we can rise above this self contradiction to our natural and peaceful state. Can we do that? Emerson, which I'm sure everyone here has at least heard of Emerson, we live in successions, in division, in parts, in particles. We live in duality. We live in separation. We live in cause and effect. That's succession. So Emerson was just trying to say we live in duality or we live in 3D. Meanwhile, meanwhile, cool. There's a meanwhile. So something else is happening. Within man is the soul of the whole. Within man is the soul of the totalities. The wise silence. The grand wisdom. The universal beauty creation. To which every part and participle is equally related. Equally related. Everything is flowing within and out of each other. Chaos and order flow within the waters of creation. Everything is equally related, flowing the eternal one. So, meanwhile, in 3D, in each man is the eternal one. Ain't that some good news? We can get real happy about that one. We can get real happy about that one. So, in all man is the one, The it is. That does not live just in the confinements of 3D and any form of judgment. And the way we can use the 3D life to begin to experience more of the totalities is seeing life not as a karmic mistakes, miscommunication, mishaps, or even grand gestures to have it flow back. We could see it as it is and use this world 3D as an opportunity to practice compassion in all situations with all people, places, and things, starting with self. And I can guarantee, I can literally actually guarantee this. I don't know how unless you start practicing, but I can guarantee this that if you try to get that into your conscious mind of, wow, everything that happens is a opportunity to practice compassion for myself and others, the more you actually practice that, because it's in your conscious awareness to practice in that moment, the more you actually practice that, the more you will evolve through the levels of consciousness and expand, as everybody talks about, the grand expansion, the accelerating of your soul, right? I can guarantee that that is the foundation building blocks, the steps you have to take to get higher and higher into releasing the judgment. Please understand, if and it does take a lot to maybe grasp this, and so I'm going to be saying it a lot. And that's not because it's not because you're not intelligent, it's not because you're not all knowing, which you are, you just got to remember you are. It's not that, it's because I do know how dense 3D is. When we really can notice the amount of judgment there is because we have begun to release judgment by practicing compassion to self and others, when we can start seeing the amount of it in the 3D, even in 5D living, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And the only reason humans are continuously struggling, continuously um, setting themselves below, continuously feeling like they have debts to pay, continuously coming up with concepts like karma to justify the hellish things that happen here. The only reason humans continuously do that is because the amount of judgment they put on themselves. Because it's is designed to keep you in some form of punishment thinking, judgment thinking of our self to others, self to creator, God. And if we can keep you in, if it can keep you in some form of judgment, hence like Yaldabaoth saying, I am a jealous God, there is no other God beside me, that bastard child, that horrible thing that has caused a lot of chaos. The more we stay inside those forms of systems of thought, which is very 3D and in 5D, by not practicing compassion to self and others and releasing the judgment, the more people I'm just saying there is a way out. It is not winning the game because that's a form of judgment. It's not hoping you got everything right this time so you don't have to come back. That's a form of judgment. The amount of judgment that is present in this world. I released a free video on the Patreon of Stars of the Morning Light a couple of weeks ago. And I put in there that the amount of judgment that I can now witness and see and catch it in the moment, so I don't even accept it, I reject it, right? Is pretty much in everything. This world is designed that way. To the point that I had said at the very beginning of this, I had gone through a lot of transformation work and working a course with my beloved teachers this past summer, and it was technically, quote unquote, a certification program. By the time I got through all of it, and it was about 3 months of a process, and I am still kind of going through the process, folks. By the time I got through all of it, I sent my teacher a lovely email. I said, "Here, I did do everything that was asked of me, but I could care less if you send a certificate or not." I said, "I learn, I do, I learn, I experience, I do." Right? Because I'm studying something, I'm working on something, which is what we do. That's because we're obtaining skills. We're obtaining, right? Um, but I said, if you want to send me a certificate, you can. I don't care. Because even a certificate is a form of judgment. I don't need a certificate to prove that I do what I do, nor do I need others to look at that certificate and oh, you did so great. You did this and that. No, I just do. Now I just do. And I have been doing. Many of the patrons of Stars of the Morning Light are now receiving anointings from me, donation based or even free, because now I just do the work. I don't need a certificate to tell me to go do the work. Certificates are even a form of judgment. It's how we give ourselves accolades. I don't need accolades. It's a form of judgment. That is a level of understanding judgment that I know many are not there. I know many are not there, and many still need actually the accolades, the uplifting, the understanding that they are so worthy. But the only reason people don't think they're worth anything, or they're full of magic and beautiful creation, the only reason people think they're unworthy is because the amount of judgment that is here and present in 3D. That's the only reason. So when we can start actually identifying how that is it is insidiously in every aspect of our lives, good and bad, indifferent, it doesn't matter. In 3D, even in five dimensional consciousness, there's so much judgment that makes us assume that experience unworthiness in the first place. When that judgment has absolutely nothing to do with you. You are amazing, you're ultimate, you are limitless, you are the continuous story of infinite potentialities and bright lights and beautiful stars. That's the only thing that's holding us back. It's the only thing. When we can lift the fog, when we can lift the fog and remember who we are, this is what can happen. I'm going to read two things and then I'll probably let you go. This is the dissolution of form, still in the hours, the Gnostic Book of Hours. The dissolution of form. When he has filled the deficiency, I apologize if you hear my dog. I don't think you do with the mic I have. I apologize. I'll start again. When he has filled the deficiency, the Father will abolish the form, That is the world in which the Son had served. The place where there is envy and strife is deficient, but the place where there is unity is perfect. The deficiency came in being where the Father was not known. When he becomes known, the deficiency will no longer exist, as in the case of a person who is ignorant. When he comes to knowledge, his ignorance vanishes of itself. As darkness vanishes when light appears, so also deficiency vanishes in perfection. From that moment on, form is not apparent, but will vanish in the fashion of unity. Within unity, each one will purify himself, consuming matter within himself like fire, darkness by light, and death by eternal life. The deficiency, and do forgive my dog if you hear him, I apologize. I have a lot of things being delivered to my house to then bring up to the hurricane relief centers. Yay! And I think something just got delivered. So the dog is barking. That deficiency attached to the fog is because it enables us to stay in the ignorance of our forgetfulness. And once you beautiful star, know, like Emerson said, within you, meanwhile, I love when he would say stuff like that. So all this drama and horrible stuff is happening, but meanwhile, within every human lives the eternal one. Within every human lives that greatness. So when deficiency is fulfilled, when it's filled, when it fills on up with love and light out of unity instead of envy and strife, when that happens, we get to live a whole new day. It's wonderful. And how can that happen? When we lay down the judgment, see this world as an opportunity to practice compassion over judgment. Everything's an opportunity to, practice compassion, all of it. And then isn't that so cool because then we can lay down, like seriously, just lay down your worries. Lay down your fears because that's a form of judgment. Lay it down and just be. And the more you can be, before I read this last little bit, I'm going to hold up the card of magic. Number 31, magic. Be magic. Have the law of instantaneous manifestation. Be that. Be the divine love. Be full conscious awareness in this body of form because you are magic. The frequency of magic supports our intrinsic ability to grow and expand beyond this moment, to move toward possibilities and expressions that are as grand and profound as we can imagine. All that is required is our belief in their manifestation. Magic. You are all magic. You know, that thing about belief, I do have to put this out there. That is what can fill that deficiency. This is why it doesn't matter really what scripture you read because they kept some of the good diamonds in the Bible, most of the Bible. I do agree with Franklin Benjamin Franklin when he said, you know, 80% of the Bible is crap, but 20% is diamonds. Some of those diamonds are very much worth it. But I then also read the Nag Hammadi to that tells me how much crap is in there, right? And gives me even way more diamonds. The aspect of belief, though, here's the thing. Every religion, everything that we are trying to seek order in order to override the chaos with, I'm going to say that again. Everything that we seek order to override the chaos with, when it's already working and flowing within itself, everything that we seek order with and we put our belief into, all it's doing is placing your belief into something that is outside of you. Outside of you. When all of the masters and great philosophers and true source will say it's within the human. It's within the human. So once again, we give our power over to this concept of karma. We give our power over to all of the judgments that are out there that tell us we're not worthy enough. We give our power over to even the collective in a way because, oh man, if they're doing it, I guess I am going to jump. We give so much away in hopes that it will cure the chaos. Balance and order are already at play. Balance and order is a cosmic law. Cosmic, not universal. Balance and order is a cosmic law. I can guarantee you it covers chaos all the time. So we don't need to seek outside of ourselves in some kind of form of belief of something outside of ourselves to manifest what is good and great. The belief is what can fill the light within, can fill the deficiencies. And that can go from all things psychological, spiritual, mental, emotional. Personal deficiencies are the same as outer world deficiencies. It's all the same. There is no separation. Oh, did Cheryl come in? Good to see you, Miss Cheryl. Good to see you. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, it is a fiction book, but there's a little section at the end that's I'm gonna read. So it is a fiction book. It is based on extensive studying of the Nag Hammadi scriptures and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And so this would be as if Christ the Master, Christ consciousness, the Christos, however we want to say it, would be talking to the scene that are with him. Not This is not before, this is like before like Paul and John and and Luke. This is supposed to fictional story that takes place way before any of that. Okay? Like those 30 years that he's just missing, right? But it's a lovely reading. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to end you with this. And do remember that the last thing that I read is the deficiency will fold into itself. It vanishes within itself. And that will and can happen. And it is the unification, the unity that creates something beautiful and new. And so many of my episodes lately have been about the ending and the beginning, the ending and the beginning. And the Akashic message for November 2024 is not out yet for y'all, but my patrons have received it. There's a lot about the ending and the beginning. Deficiency can eat itself, right? It can vanish into itself, dissolve into itself, right? when unity helps to fill that deficiency up. So I just want to make that very clear. In the next probably multiple shows, we'll be talking about the beginning and the end, which I've been talking about for 2 years. But I think everybody's now going to understand why I've been talking about it for 2 years. Okay, so this would be the Christos, the Christ consciousness speaking. I may now tell you clearly, my brothers, that my task is not to establish my kingdom on this earth, but to bring this earth closer to my kingdom. I will activate the life of the world. Sorry, I will activate the life of your world by inducing subtle vibrations within your hearts. Never, perhaps, have I expressed myself as concretely as I do now. My words are not a form of poetry, so much as they are an expression of geometry of the heart and soul. The universes, so plural, the universes, as well as the heavens, plural, heavens, you contemplate every evening, evolve according to the same rules. They bathe in an ocean of life, where the invisible finger makes them vibrate periodically, flowing ever accelerating rhythms. The multitudes of heavenly bodies progress in this way, trans- circularly transmuted, propelled from one reality to the next, fleeing the limitations of destiny. I want to pause for a minute because we started with the Edgar Casey life skill story studies that I did on Wednesday, and it was about karma or destiny. And please understand, this just said fleeing the limitations of destiny. This is talking about the universes, the heavens, all evolve according to the same rules. They bathe in an ocean of life, the waters of creations. So we learn to swim in the waters opposed to walk on land. Where the invisible finger, that's the invisible spirit, makes them vibrate periodically, flowing ever accelerating rhythms. And now we all know from science, vibrations, right? That everything in creation is based out of a vibration of what of 1 degree to another. The multitudes of heavenly bodies progress in this way, propelled from one reality to the next, fleeing the limitations of destiny. The the ethereal one, my brothers, is a musician who sounds notes at the ever high pitches, the key born of his breath, goes up one note every 2,000 years. And at the end of the sixth of these keys, the worlds enter a new vibration stage. I tell you truly, I am the master craftsman of the sixth key, the catalyst whose task it is to make the doors of the heart vibrate in a new way by the end of the next 2 millennia. The rock must become a gem, the grass, trees, animals must awaken to their humanity, and humans emerge as initiates, the equals of the brothers of the stars. I'm going to read those last couple of lines again. I am the master craftsman of the sixth key, a catalyst whose task it is to make the doors of the heart vibrate in a new way by the end of the next 2 millennia. The rock must become a gem. Grass, trees, birds must awaken to their humanity. So even nature has to evolve. Nature, the rock, the density of a rock has to become a gem. Those are the birthing pains of the new earth, where even the trees and the animals, they have to understand and evolve into their humanity when humans emerge as initiates, the equals of the brothers from the stars. So rock that we live on, this hard, dense 3D rock, has to be polished, has to go through all the pains to become a gem. Maybe some fires, maybe all sorts of stuff. We're seeing it. When the November Akashic message comes out, this will make so much sense to you. The rock must become a gem. Grass, trees, animals must awaken to their humanity. They have to evolve in consciousness. And humans emerge as initiates. The equals, us humans, the equals of the brothers of the stars. The equals to the galactic. The equals to the angelic. In the angel must blossom the archangel. The planet bloom as the sun, and the sun expand into a central cosmic fire. This will first take place in our universe as of matter and consciousness, subsequent to the internal and external purification of each form of existence. It is all a question of level of consciousness, my brothers. Everything else is but an application of this principle. So he is talking Christ conscious in this fictional story, but very much they did study. I can tell that they studied because this is exactly a whole lot of what's in the Nag Hammadi and some of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I can very much tell. That's why I'm reading it to you. Fictional story though. Everything's going to change. I will put this in the November 2025 collective Akashic reading. There is a line in there that says, all will change. All will change. Here's the difference, folks. It is all a question of the level of consciousness, my brothers. Everything else is but an application of this principle. So everything else, I really, man, guys, everything else that is not part of the evolution of your consciousness Everything that is outside of the evolution of your consciousness, which I will tell you, karma is not there. Karma is nowhere near anywhere on the consciousness chart, nor is it there because it's a form of judgment. Opportunities to level up are all over the place. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. Anything outside of you heightening your consciousness is just simply a practicing of principles, which brings us back to when Lucky said, can we use the word practicing instead of learning? You can use the word practicing, and you can continue to practice your principles. You can continue to practice all these concepts that help us feel safe and secure while striving to seek order amongst the chaos that only our eyes focus on. You can. That's fine. I will tell you, though, that there is no winning or beating this game. It is only going up, leveling up, ascension of consciousness, consciousness level that will have you, well, leave the 3D and the 5D, leave the game where the game is. So we can actually then be equal to our brethrens of the stars because we are stars. There's no separation, but we just don't experience it and live it here because we create a lot of judgment, even in good reasons and principles, to try to get away from the chaos, but yet it still keeps us low on a rock. We need to purify it to a gem and ourselves. I think some star power can do that. I really do. I think some star power can do that. So this was a very long message, y'all. This has now been like 2 hours, and I went in a lot of different ways. I really did, but yet it is all related. So if you've bared with me for this long, God bless you. And if you listen to this later on, you can leave some comments below. Please give me a thumbs up. Please share it out. Do know you are ultimate. You are absolutely ultimate. And I say, let's get rid of these things called destiny, karma, all this stuff that is representing that you are something unworthy of who you are. You are magnificent, beautiful, glowing, bright light, star of this earth. Let's eliminate and remove all these concepts that you are something lower or worse or even higher and grander than what you are. You are just beautiful being. You're just a beautiful being. You are, it is in flowing in the waters of creation. I love it. You're amazing. So that's my take, folks. I'm sure next Friday I think I'm gonna still be in chaos and order. So if you want, you can send me questions, comments, whatever below or to stars of the morning light at gmail.com. And tonight, let us not forget the link to Lucky and I's show live on his channel, sharing scary stories because it's fun. Why not? We can share some stories for Halloween. That is tonight, October 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live over there with Lucky doing our thing. I'll see y'all later. I love y'all. I really do. I love y'all. Man, humans are so amazing. They are so amazing. You're amazing no matter how you come. No matter how you come, no matter what you've been through, all the lives you've lived, you're amazing no matter which way you come. You're amazing. That's the key. You come. That's it. You come. You come together. Unity fulfills the deficiency. I love y'all. Bye, guys.